Axel, first up, what is your main message this week to all the delegates turning up for the meetings?
Our main message is that certainly the World Bank is on the move on multiple fronts. It is clearly that in a world that is complicated, we need multilateral institutions to support particularly the low-income countries, but also the middle-income countries. We have made major changes within the World Bank to do so, either from financial capacity till the way we operate, to all our knowledge agenda. So there is good news. And of course, most importantly, we are getting in the final stretch for the replenishment of our soft loan window, that is the International Development Association. That is money for the 77 poorest countries. And so we need also the generosity by the international community.
I want to talk about some of the poorest countries because that is already cropping up in the IMF World Bank meetings, reports that are cropping up this week. We're hearing a lot about the economic harm that has been done to these nations since the pandemic. The big developing nations are back to where they were, but these poorest nations are simply not. What are the most pressing concerns?
Well, there are concerns multiple. First of all, we came out with a report on the poverty situation. Extreme poverty is not falling to the extent that it actually should. In fact, it is stagnating. It's affecting particularly the poorest countries there, where we have seen even increase in extreme poverty, particularly those countries that are affected by fragility. Then there are many countries affected also by climate change, particularly in the African continent, only responsible for 3% of the emissions, yet disproportionately affected by the impact of climate change. And then there are, of course, the fallout also of the war in Ukraine, that was first on the food crisis, but also the longer term implications on food prices that directly hits the poor. So there are multiple hits, and if that is not enough, many of the countries are struggling with debt service, with high debt. Just think of this, that in the poorest countries, the debt service is higher than what these countries allocate to education, health and infrastructure. So there are considerable challenges.
We all had a taste of the issues around food security during the pandemic. We had a sense of what that looks like. But as you point out, it's not going away for some of these poor nations with climate change ever present. What needs to happen now to improve food security for these countries?
Well, you need a multi-pronged approach. In the short term, you need to provide support to those who are really suffering. That is what we are doing largely through social protection programs, and we have been scaling that up in a massive way. I'm talking here about tens of billions of dollars. But then we need also go look at how we can help these countries really to strengthen their agriculture and agricultural supply chain systems. So we are making major investments there, and that provides in the longer term, of course, better opportunities, not only for job creation, but also for food security.
There are so many